Rosanna Pansino has come out in a video to expose Tana Mongeau for her alleged lies about Escape the Night and what happened to her on set. Tana has been very vocal on her own podcast and on Just Trish about what happened to her with one of the crew members from Escape the Night production, and Rosanna has something to say about that. It's a mess, so let's get into it. Last week, we talked about Tana's experience on the set of Joey Graceffa's Escape the Night production and how her speaking out about what happened to her caused some drama between her and Joey. I have a whole video breaking down everything, which I'll link down below for you guys, but just for a quick little summary, a few months back, Tana talked about a bad experience that she had while filming a secret project. Unfortunately, her description of the project allowed people to easily guess that she was talking about Escape the Night. And one of her stories even made it obvious that Rosanna Pansino would also be in the movie. During this podcast, Tana talked about a scary experience she had with a hired scare actor on set who said something pretty unsettling to her while she was alone and tied up for a scene.
And so I have this little side quest with one of these horror actors, okay? And so I get dragged into a freezer, okay? And then they're like, okay, your next scene is that you're gonna be chained to the ceiling. I'm just in this freezer, chained to the ceiling with a man in a horror mask, right? And he starts talking to me and he's like, hey, I'm JJ. And I'm all,
hey.
hi, JJ. I'm Tana. And this man looks at me, I swear to through the mask, I don't know what he looks like. And he looks at me and he says, this is my dream having you chained up.
No.
This is my dream having you chained up.
That same actor later accidentally hurt her pinky finger during a scene, and Tana said it hurt so much that she thought it was broken. She also talked about what happened to her on Just Trish the same day Joey went on Just Trish and didn't show a lot of sympathy for her during the episode. He seemed much more upset about Tana leaking information about Escape the Night, and he felt like she was exaggerating the story about her so-called broken finger. When Tana later went on Just Trish, she retold her story, but she didn't know the full extent of how Joey handled the situation when he talked about what happened to Trisha. It wasn't until Tana saw the episode when Trisha released it that she realized just how much he was minimizing the situation, which then in return made her go off on Joey on a recent episode of Cancel. She felt like he had the attitude of, oh, it's just Tana, who cares? And she felt like he was extremely dismissive and handled what happened to her very unprofessionally. Joey later gave a statement to Oscar from Just Trish about how he was going to handle the situation moving forward, knowing how hurt Tana felt, and it sounded like he was going to try and make the situation right with her.
He said, I sent Tana a text. I don't see why she can't handle things offline. I apologize to her for how I talked about it on the pod, though, and I was just being playful. I think Tana's been hurt by a lot of people and put me in the same boat of people who have wronged her with people with bad intentions, but I genuinely feel bad and was shocked by her reaction, and I instantly texted her. And we also handled it on set, too. So I think I'm talking about probably with that guy, I'm assuming. Like, when Tana told him about the harassment and stuff. She said he said we also handled it on set. And he said he's going to send her flowers. So I hope all's well that ends well.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the drama was done there, but oh no. Rosanna Pansino uploaded a podcast episode last night titled Exposing Tana Mongeau's Lies About Me and Escape the Night. At first, I thought maybe the episode was just clickbait until I read the description of the video, which reads, Tana Mongeau decided to attack me on multiple podcasts for some reason. She also told lies and exaggerations about Joey Graceffa's Escape the Night, along with a pinned comment saying, I wasn't planning to have to film an episode while traveling, but I found out 2 days ago what Tana was saying about me and Escape the Night. I put this podcast together with my laptop and equipment we had on hand, so it's not perfect. I wanted to give another perspective. So right off the bat going into this, Rosanna says that she's always been cool with Tana. She's always defended her in her absence. She's always liked her. They've never had any issues with each other. So hearing the way that Tana was talking about her in these episodes really took her by surprise. But she said the main thing that really upset her was how she lied about Joey Graceffa and what happened on the set of Escape the Night. Rosanna said Tana had months to prepare for this shoot. She called her out for how she almost made it seem like it was a last-minute thing that she was doing out of the goodness of her heart, almost like she was doing a favor for Joey and wasn't looking at it as a really cool opportunity to be a part of something big.
So in 2 different videos, she said it's mainstream when she's expressing gratitude for the project, And then when she's shitting on it, she calls it niche and little, like she's bigger
It's
and
like belittling it.
like better than it. And an old friend hits her up to be in it, and she kind of is giving off the impression how she's speaking about it, the tone, the manner is that like she's doing the project out of charity, sympathy, like I'm doing him a favor.
You're lucky to have me.
You're lucky to have you.
She also said Tana was on the set the least amount of time out of everyone, did the least amount of work, but complained the most.
She did the least amount of work on this project. She had the shortest time on set. And she complained the most.
Yeah.
She was in a bad mood all day, negative, unprofessional.
This is where we get into Tana's comments about Rosanna. Tana almost made it seem like this crazy YouTuber came up to her as soon as she got on set and started dumping a story on her about how her dad just died and how she smoked her dad's ashes, and how it all added to her disinterest towards being on set that day. Rosanna recalls their interaction happening a little bit differently. She said she noticed Tana was really moody when she first got to set, so she gave her space and didn't come up to talk to her until later on, once she settled in a bit.
Yeah, this is not how the conversation went. Mike was there.
I heard the whole conversation.
So I just I don't understand. When she showed up, I gave her a hug. I noticed she was a little moody. I thought maybe she needed a cup of coffee or something, so I just went over and snuggled with Mike. Later, when she looked to be a little bit more awake and in a better mood, I gave her another hug and I told her that I really liked her new podcast with Trish. I told her about my podcast coming out.
Rosanna said Tana seemed extremely positive towards her story about her dad and even said that she would love to smoke with her one day.
I did tell her, and at the time, on set, she said that was a sleigh.
She loved that you're speaking up.
Yeah,
about,
and
about
talking
your
my
experiences
shit.
And talking your shit. And she would love to have you on the podcast. To talk about it. She said she'd love to smoke with you.
She also had something to say about Brooke. During the canceled episode, Brooke made a face when she heard the story about Rosanna's dad's ashes, and she said, "Isn't that illegal?"
And I'm downtown and this YouTuber is telling me about how they smoked their dead parent.
Is that against the law?
And Rosanna's theory is that Brooke doesn't like her because she had her friend on her podcast and they talked about Brooke's old racist tweets. So Brooke probably has some distaste towards her over that.
Which, keep in mind, Brooke does not like Ro.
Right, yeah. Brooke doesn't like me because on my podcast, I had my friend Tila Dunn on, who's an actress. And on the podcast, Tila brought up Brooke, her racist posts that resurfaced or something. And Tila said that it really disappointed her.
They also said Tana lied about the crew being creepy. They said it was in fact not an all-men crew. Rosanna said there were women on the crew, and her boyfriend next to her said that he was around Tana during her interactions with the crew and said none of the interactions he overheard were creepy.
Every interaction with every single person was weird or giving weird vibes or whatever. And it's like, no, I literally was next to Tana when she talked to several crew members several times. It was completely normal interactions. So just based on what I saw in person with my own eyes, it already proves, in my opinion, that she is either exaggerating or just lying. And that's not to say when we get to the other actor, what he said, it's not to say that that's didn't happen, but here she's literally saying every interaction with every person on the crew was weird. That's just not true.
A big part of Tana's story was her saying that she was chained up in this meat freezer with this creepy scare actor with no way out. When Tana told her story, everyone agreed that that would be a really unsafe situation to be in, especially if you were chained and locked up with no way to help yourself if something were to go wrong. Well, Rosanna says that Tana is also exaggerating this part of the story. She said that she was never locked up or chained up at all. It was all props and you could easily escape the set on your own if you wanted to.
No one is locked in. No one can never not get out. At the bottom, there's these big loops. The loops were so big that you had to hold on to look like you were locked
And
in
you're
there.
standing the whole time.
To make it look like you're locked in there. You're not. There's no locks.
There's no one tying her in there.
Here's how you get out. You let go. Boom. And then you walk out. That is how you get out. And I just don't like that she perpetuates this lie that she was locked in there. No one was locked in there. That is a flat out lie. And then you're making people think that your safety was at risk, that you were locked in there when you weren't.
She even shared a clip at the end of the episode where she showed that there was no way to physically be chained up. You had to hold onto the chain and make it look like you weren't able to get out. So it does seem like Tana was exaggerating that part of her story. When I heard it, I was thinking Tana was like handcuffed above her head with no way to unlock herself. But still, if she was alone in that room with this creepy scare actor, that would be a really bad situation to be in. I feel like they should have always had a trusted person with them on set at all times, and she definitely shouldn't have been left alone with someone like that.
And just so you know, that kind of black sheet that's hanging, that's literally a video village, which is where like a lot of the producers sit, the director usually sits there, whatever. So that's how far away a bunch of the crew was.
15 feet.
And then this is literally the freezer that Tana keeps talking about.
Now, the one part they did agree with Tana on was that the crew member's comments to her about this being his dream to have her tied up was not okay. Rosanna and her partner said they weren't there for that, so they can't comment on what happened, but agreed that him saying that was unprofessional and inappropriate. Rosanna said that she chose to believe Tana when she told them what happened to her, but said it does make it harder to believe her when it comes to the more serious things, when she's always lying about the small details to make her stories more entertaining.
I chose to believe her then, and it just makes it really hard to believe someone, not because of like who they are, but because when you tell a story where you're over exaggerating so many things and lying about so many things, it makes it harder to believe you when it comes to serious things, because it destroys your credibility, it destroys your integrity. So I think one piece of advice that I would give to Tana is just work on that.
It is just really hard to believe everything she says when 90% of everything else she said is either an exaggeration or a lie.
And as for Tana's finger injury, they said that Tana left early, said that she was going to go to the hospital, which didn't happen. And they don't believe her finger was actually broken. They said it was probably just a sprain since she said it was better within the week, but Rosanna said if Tana has the x-ray to prove it was broken, she would be happy to be proven wrong. At this point, Rosanna and her partner moved on to Tana's Just Trish episode and had some thoughts about what Tana said to Trisha about Escape the Night. During Just Trish, Tana retold the story about Rosanna smoking the plant that was grown from the soil where some of her dad's ashes were buried, and Trisha was laughing along with Tana, and you could tell that kind of upset Rosanna.
I have a text that says that. She texted me that's what she was doing. Yeah.
Correct. I did text Trish that. I texted my family, I texted my really close friends, and I texted friends, just friends who, you know, I hang out with more seldom, but I still consider them friends, because I just wanted people to have a heads up and then belittle me because I'm doing something that you wouldn't do. These ladies have done a lot of things that I wouldn't do, and I have never judged them. That's what I'm upset about. It's just so confusing and so hurtful and so mean.
And that would hurt because Trisha and Rosanna are pretty good friends. Trisha has had Rosanna on her podcast, and it would hurt to see your friend having a laugh over something as personal as Rosanna honoring her dad's wishes. Which finally brings us to Tana's most recent episode of Cancelled. During the episode, Tana made a comment along the lines of, "What if this happened to Rosanna Pansino?" Trying to paint the picture that the situation wasn't handled properly because everyone has the "it's just Tana" mindset. Rosanna really took offense to her comment because it felt like that was Tana trying to make her out to be this weak, helpless person when she's currently going up against the biggest content creator on YouTube. Rosanna pointed out that a lot of comments under Tana's video and under any commentary videos talking about the situation were all pointing out how Rosanna was being unfairly dragged into the situation and how Tana's comments about her story were not necessary. That's why Rosanna feels like Tana kind of backtracked a bit in this episode and went on to call her a slay.
Rosanna Pansino's a slay.
After Tana gets backlash for attacking me for no reason, now I'm a slay. That's the backtracking, that's the flip-flopping. So there's not taking accountability and apologizing for all the mean, nasty things that you said and the way you talked about me and belittled me about something that is actually truly sensitive to me, like genuinely, and that's why I told you in person. You saw my eyes, you know my heart, like you know, but this is not taking accountability. A friend does not attack someone over and over and over again and then just be like, sweep it under the rug and be like, oh, she's a slay.
And honestly, a lot more was said in Rosanna's podcast. They went through every single point that Tana brought up and were pointing out discrepancies between Tana's story and what they experienced. It's turned into a very he said, she said situation, and it's sad that it had to even come to this point because I feel like this could have all been solved if Tana and Joey had just had a private conversation. I personally feel like Joey probably didn't know the extent of how uncomfortable Tana felt. And maybe that's why he seemed really jokey talking about it on Just Trish. Then when Tana saw his episode, she probably felt extremely invalidated. And since she's just dealt with the whole Cody Co situation of people being like, oh, it's just Tana, it most likely brought up those feelings for her all over again. It seems like a big miscommunication between Tana and Joey that's now snowballed into an even bigger issue. There's also a lot of mixed reactions under Rosanna's podcast about the whole situation. Some people are happy that Rosanna is speaking out about Tana, with one person writing, "This hurts my heart so much because I really like Rosanna and Tana's friendship, but saying whatever about Ro's dad wanted is so disrespectful. And not just to Ro, but to anyone who has lost anyone recently. Her dad wanted her to do that. She respected his wishes. This made me lose all respect for Tana, Paige, and Brooke, and it just hurts a little." Another person said, "The fact that Ro was not even a part of the drama and she got shade kind of pisses me off." But on the other hand, there were some people that weren't happy to see Rosanna disprove Tana, and they felt like it was taking away from Tana's experience with the scare actor. One person wrote, "Victim blaming someone for their experience is wild, girl. You have no idea how Tana felt in that moment, and if someone made her uncomfortable, that's her truth. She clearly has said multiple times it's not on anyone but the guy that made her feel a certain way. She said nothing about the cast or Joey or anyone. Not to mention the fact that Tana came out about the Cody Co situation after years of not speaking about it, and so many people blamed her for that. You're basically doing the same thing. This situation is not for you to debate or whine or complain about. This is her experience, not yours. You're a grown-ass woman. Please act like it." And someone else wrote, "You should genuinely be ashamed of yourself for posting this and trying to pick apart a woman's story of how a man made them uncomfortable in a work environment." So definitely a lot of mixed reactions on Rosanna's commentary on the situation. It seems like some people feel like Rosanna should have just stayed out of it and maybe only commented on the part that Tana dragged her into about her dad, and then let Joey handle the rest since it was his set. All I know is Tana and Joey have been friends for a very long time, so hopefully they can talk privately and figure things out together before things get even messier. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below, and I'll see you next time.